Well, how do you push those thoughts away of worrying and that anxiety of the things that are the external factors, those type of nuggets that are out of your control?
Right, yeah, if there was, like, one thing that worked, we'd be billionaires, right? Like,
Right.
I think it is finding what works for you. Is it talking with someone that you trust, a coach, a player, a mentor? Is it journaling? Is it the rubber band on your wrist that helps you snap out of those negative self-talk? It's probably the answer is probably a culmination of all of it, and it's also an understanding that we're not gonna be perfect with it. Just like you're gonna go train one day and not feel your best because you're gonna be a
Mm.
little under the weather or whatever it may be. Mentally, you're gonna have those days where you're not at your best, but then you're gonna have other days where you're like, "Wow, something like that would have really bugged me or really gotten me down, and I feel like I can just move past it and move on to the next thing right now." Um, so you're going to see the reward of your work. It's just not a light switch. And I think some people think mental performance is a little bit of a light switch where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna have a really good mentality now. I'm good. It's like, well, no, we have to train that mentality because whatever negative thought was in your head about failing is now on a habit loop. It's like your brain is in this habit loop of like, oh, I failed. I feel bad about myself. I say this about myself. And now I fail again. And
Mm.
instead of we got to figure out a way to break that habit. And I think you spoke about that last week with an article you read about Forbes, with the first key was that awareness, like what's
Mm.
going on in my head? How am I actually feeling? What am I actually in control of right now?
Yeah, being present. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really not talked about enough because something, when we get something that's good that comes to us or successful, I think there's a lot of people, a lot of athletes have these big goals and these big dreams, but that takes them away from the present and where they actually should be and getting to that next step, which can ultimately get them to the next step of where they want to go. That makes sense.
sure. Yeah, I still remember we had this like piece of paper and it had a red bar at the top. It said, "Where do we want to be?" And it
Yeah.
was SEC tournament, SEC championship, SEC NCAA national championship.
Mhm.
It's like cool. And then it said, "How are we going to get there?" And we listed what we could control to get there, and we just focused on those things. Of course, everyone wants to experience that opportunity for success, but you don't. You're gonna like spin realizing like what can I actually control to get there. So you can have these to do goals, I guess, or these like big, like, hey, I want to be recruited. I want to go play pro. I want to do all these things. But then you have to have these to be goals or to be aspirations where it's like, all right, now what opportunities can I maximize on? Like, what are actual things I can control? How am I going to do that? What does that look like? What does that version of myself look like where I am viewing failure as an opportunity to get better and not as this crushing blow every time it happens?